Well, we start with ongoing coverage of Russia's war on Ukraine. The president of Georgia has been in Paris for talks with Emmanuel Macron about the crisis. The situation is personal for Georgia, which, like Ukraine, is a former Soviet republic with ambitions to join NATO and the European Union. And of course, the country was itself invaded by Russia in 2008. President Salome Zurabishvili joins me in the studio, along with France 24's Europe editor, Catherine Nicholson. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us.
Thank you.
President Zurabishvili, I wanted to start off with your visit here in Paris. You met with Emmanuel Macron himself on Monday. He also spoke to Vladimir Putin on Monday on the request of President Zelensky. And the Elysée says that the French president got Vladimir Putin to confirm his will to engage on 3 points there: stopping strikes and attacks on civilians and residential areas, preserving civilian infrastructure and making the road network secure. What do you make of this from Putin, this confirmation of his will to engage?
Well, it has to be seen and not only said. And I think that the security on the roads apparently understand that as sending kilometers of tanks. So I'm not too much convinced by the just words of President Putin. And I think that Emmanuel Macron also knows that you cannot just trust words. And that's an attempt to again try to engage him. Everybody is trying that, including Zelensky, with participating, the delegation that participates in the talks. But Putin is obviously playing both grounds. On the one side, some form of dialogue, and on the other side, just accelerating the pressure on Ukraine by all means, including pressure and targeting the civilians in different cities, which is probably the most concerning.
President Zurabishvili, Vladimir Putin has said that Ukraine's wish to join NATO is a sign of aggression, really what's been used as a justification for starting this invasion. Does this change Georgia's ambitions to join NATO?
Well, Georgia has been invaded and occupied a little bit before, 14 years ago exactly, and not only 14 years ago. That's the fourth time that Georgia is invaded by different Russias. So it's not new, and it has never changed the determination of the Georgian people to join Europe and NATO. The Euro-Atlantic integration is inscribed in our constitution, but it's also inscribed in the hearts of people who feel that, in a way, they're more European than Europeans sometimes. So I think that if that was the aim in Georgia, it did not succeed. And if it's the aim today in Ukraine, it won't succeed, because whatever happens, the result will be that tomorrow's Ukraine will be anti-Russian. Maybe it was not before, but it will be, including those provinces that Vladimir Putin is calling as being almost Russian and negating the Ukrainian nation. When you're bombing those cities that you pretend to be Russian and Russian-speaking. And I think that's what is provoking the reaction in Russia itself, because the Russian population does not understand anymore. If they are brothers, why are we bombing brothers?
I'd like to talk about sanctions briefly. Your country's Prime Minister has said that Georgia doesn't intend to impose sanctions on Russia. Why is that?
Well, first of all, I don't know why he made that declaration. And I think that it's not the question, because our country is already sanctioned by the occupied territories. And I'm not sure what type of sanctions we could really impose that would matter at this point. But I don't think that...
perhaps?
Yeah, that's why I don't think that a statement of that kind makes much sense today. And I wouldn't have done such a statement, I can say it frankly. I think what is important and what everybody expects from Georgia is the solidarity, the open solidarity, and that's what I've come here. I've been demonstrating that to President Zelensky. The Georgian population has been demonstrating it very clearly, and that's what the message I want to bring here, that we are in total solidarity with Ukraine.
The European Union and EU countries individually have announced unprecedented measures in terms of sending weapons and military support to Ukraine. Do you think that this is counterproductive? Does it risk making an already dangerous situation even more dangerous?
I think there is nothing counterproductive because Putin has to understand, and I think he is discovering that there is a united Europe, that he has miscalculated how Europeans, Ukrainians first, and then Europeans are reacting to his aggression. And he has to discover that he cannot impress and he cannot dictate to everyone as maybe he thought that he could.
But it's perhaps a fine balance that the West is going to have to strike between assisting Ukraine in its legitimate demands and also not adding to the escalation.
I don't think that nobody is adding to the escalation except Putin. So we didn't have to be, in a way, having a complex of the Western side should not be. I think that one of the reasons Putin has become the Putin that we are seeing is because there has always been this self-restriction on the Western side, not to do something that might provoke. In this case, nothing has provoked. There was no clear and imminent danger, so to say, for Putin coming from NATO. No decision was in sight. We know that, unfortunately, maybe, but we know that it was not for today or tomorrow. It's a perspective. So there was no danger. And Mr. Putin knows that very well. So he just used the pretext of so-called danger to justify for himself, for the Russian population, his acts of aggression. But it's a decision that was taken bluntly, lucidly, and without any argument and any form of provocation by Ukraine.
Just talking about how we got here, of course, Georgia invaded by Russia in 2008, and here we are 14 years on, as you say. Do you think that Europe has been naive about Russia or turned a blind eye, perhaps, because of the amount of Russian interests here in the continent, in particular member states?
I think so. And I think it's not only since the Georgian-Russian war or about that. It has started long ago. I was remembering that in earlier of my functions when I was in the French Foreign Service that we were discussing, and that was almost 30 years ago probably, discussing the dependency on gas for France, and there were two sides. People were fighting on that very vividly. And there was this tendency to let it happen, not to try to counter and to try to minimize what they were saying as signs of Russian assertiveness more and more. And I think that what we get today, the blunt all-out invasion of Ukraine, is a result of gradual demission from the Europeans and also from the Americans, not only the Europeans. The Europeans now have constituted this unique union and united front, which is really something that is a major historical fact that from now on Putin will have to deal on, because it was always used that he could play the Europeans one against the other. And if that's no longer the case, neither can he play the Europeans versus the Americans. So it's a different set of reality for him.
There are at least 8 EU member states calling for Ukraine to get fast-tracked membership into the EU. Yesterday, President Zelensky signed the official application to start the accession process. Again, is that a smart move? Comes back to what Vladimir Putin has been saying about he doesn't want Ukraine to be so close to the West.
Well, there is one thing what he doesn't want, and I think he should come back and down to reality. And what he has been pretending is threatening him. EU membership is no threat for anyone. And I was talking about NATO membership, which is not an immediate perspective and is not a threat either. because it's not destined to confront anyone. But the EU membership is certainly not a threat. It's not confrontational. And I fully agree and support the move by President Zelensky. I don't know whether it will be immediate membership, but it will certainly, and what is clear is that there is a window of opportunity, a window of readiness by the European nations to say, yes, come in. What is the form of coming in? It remains to be seen, and I want Georgia to be in that same seat.
Perhaps as a final question, what do you think is Putin's endgame?
He's the only one to know, but he has to know that there will be a united Europe in front of him.
Thank you very much,
so much
President Zurabishvili. Thank you.
Thank you.